The red thread of Aokigahara. I've always been drawn to places that hold secrets, not the kind you find in history books or tourist guides, but the kind that linger in the air, heavy and unspoken. Aokigahara, Japan's infamous suicide forest, was one of those places. I'd read about it online articles, about its eerie beauty, the myths, the tragedies. People called it the Sea of Trees, a sprawling forest at the foot of Mount Fuji where compasses spin uselessly and the air feels like it's holding its breath. I wasn't suicidal, not even close, but I was curious, maybe too curious. My name's Alex, and this is what happened when I decided to visit Aokigahara last spring. It started as a whim, really. I was in Tokyo for work, some freelance photography gigs, and had a few days to kill before my flight back to the States. I'd been scrolling through forums late at night, reading about Aokigahara's reputation, the forest where people went to disappear, where the trees swallowed screams, where signs pleaded, "Please reconsider. Think of your family." The stories hooked me, not just the tragedy, but the mystery. People claimed they heard voices calling their names, whispers weaving through the trees. Some said the forest itself was alive, pulling people deeper until they couldn't find their way out. I didn't believe in ghosts, but I wanted to see it for myself, to capture its quiet menace through my lens. I rented a car and drove out early, the sky still grey with dawn. The road to Aokigahara was unremarkable, lined with convenience stores and gas stations, but as I got closer, the world seemed to hush. The trees loomed taller, their branches knitting together like a canopy that blocked out the sun. By the time I parked at the forest's edge, near the main trailhead, the air felt different, thicker somehow. There was a sign at the entrance, just like the ones I'd read about. "Your life is precious. Please think of your loved ones." It was written in Japanese and English, the words stark against the weathered wood. I snapped a photo, the click of my camera loud in the silence. I wasn't planning to go far. The forest had marked trails for tourists, and I figured I'd stick to them, take some shots, and head back before dark. I had my backpack, water, snacks, a flashlight, and my trusty Nikon. The trail started wide, gravel crunching under my boots, but it narrowed quickly as the trees closed in. The forest was beautiful in a haunting way, moss-covered rocks, gnarled roots twisting across the path, and an endless sea of green that seemed to stretch forever. But it was quiet, too quiet. No birds, no wind, just the sound of my own breathing. I'd been walking for maybe an hour when I noticed the red thread. It was tied to a tree, a thin scarlet line knotted tightly around a low branch. At first, I thought it was litter, some hiker's forgotten string, but it stretched further, looping around another tree a few yards away. Curious, I followed it, stepping off the trail. The thread wound through the forest, dipping under roots and over rocks, like a guide leading me deeper. I told myself I'd turn back soon, but there was something about it, maybe the color, so vivid against the muted greens and browns, or the way it seemed deliberate, intentional. That's when I met him. He appeared out of nowhere, stepping from behind a tree like he'd been waiting. He was older, maybe in his 60s, with weathered skin and a grey jacket that blended into the forest. His name, he said, was Hiroshi. He spoke English with a slight accent, his voice calm but clipped, like he was choosing his words carefully. "You shouldn't be off the trail," he said, nodding toward the red thread. "It's easy to get lost here." I explained I was just following the thread, thinking it might lead to something interesting, a shrine, maybe, or some hidden viewpoint. Hiroshi's expression didn't change, but his eyes flicked to the thread and back to me. "Some people leave those," he said, "to find their way back, or to make sure someone else does." I asked if he was a guide, and he gave a small nod, something like that. "I know these woods." He offered to walk with me, to keep me from getting lost. I hesitated, something about him felt off, though I couldn't place it. Maybe it was the way he stood so still, or how his voice seemed to carry without echoing. But I was alone, and the forest was already starting to feel oppressive, so I agreed. He gestured for me to follow, and we walked, the red thread guiding our path. As we went deeper, the forest changed. The trees grew denser, their branches tangling overhead until the sky was just slivers of grey. The air felt heavier, like it was pressing against my chest. Hiroshi didn't say much, just pointed out landmarks, a twisted tree, a pile of rocks, as if memorizing them. I noticed he didn't cast a shadow, even when we passed through patches of light. I told myself it was the angle, the way the sun filtered through the canopy, but it nagged at me. I kept my camera ready, snapping photos of the thread, the trees, anything to distract myself from the growing unease. We'd been walking for maybe 2 hours when I heard it. My name, whispered soft and low, like someone was standing just behind me. Alex, I froze, my heart thudding. I spun around, but there was nothing, just trees, and the red thread trailing into the distance. Hiroshi was a few steps ahead, watching me. You heard something, he said. Not a question. Did you hear it too? I asked, my voice shakier than I wanted. He didn't answer, just tilted his head, like he was listening to something I couldn't hear. The forest talks, he said finally. It knows your name. I laughed, trying to shake off the chill crawling up my spine. That's just the wind, right? Or my imagination? Hiroshi didn't smile. Maybe, but you should be careful what you answer to. We kept walking, but the whisper came again, louder this time. Alex, it wasn't the wind, it was a voice, human but wrong, like it was coming from inside my head and all around me at once. I stopped, gripping my camera like it could anchor me. Hiroshi didn't seem fazed. He just pointed to the thread, which was now tied to a tree with a small notebook hanging from it. The notebook was old, its cover stained and pages yellowed, dangling from a branch by a loop of red string. Don't touch it, Hiroshi said, his voice sharp for the first time. But I was already reaching for it, my curiosity outweighing the warning bells in my head. The notebook felt cold, heavier than it looked. I opened it, and the pages were filled with handwriting, Japanese, mostly, but some English too. Names, dates, fragments of sentences. I can't go back, they're calling me. Don't follow the thread. My stomach twisted as I read the last entry, scrawled in shaky English, Alex, don't trust him. I looked at Hiroshi, who was watching me with those unreadable eyes. Who wrote this? I asked, holding up the notebook. People leave things, he said, his voice flat. They think it helps. It doesn't. I wanted to ask more, but the whisper came again, louder, insistent. Alex, come deeper. This time, it wasn't just my name, it was a pull, like a hand tugging at my thoughts. I stuffed the notebook into my backpack, ignoring Hiroshi's frown, and started walking faster, following the thread. I don't know why. It was like the forest was inside me, urging me forward. Hiroshi followed, silent now, his presence a weight at my back. The deeper we went, the stranger things got. The trees seemed to lean closer, their roots curling like fingers. The red thread was everywhere now, looping around branches, crisscrossing the path, forming patterns that didn't make sense. I saw things, flashes of movement in the corner of my eye, shapes that vanished when I turned once. I thought I saw a figure standing among the trees, motionless, its head tilted at an unnatural angle. When I blinked, it was gone. Hiroshi stopped suddenly, pointing to a clearing ahead. That's far enough, he said. You don't want to go past here. But the thread led into the clearing, and I could hear my name again, a chorus of whispers now, overlapping and urgent. Alex, Alex, Alex. I ignored Hiroshi and stepped forward, my heart pounding. The clearing was empty, except for a single tree in the center, its branches heavy with red threads, hundreds of them, knotted and tangled like a web. And there, hanging from the lowest branch, was another notebook, identical to the one in my bag. I opened it, my hands shaking. The pages were blank except for one line, written in my own handwriting. I followed the thread. I don't remember writing it. I don't remember ever holding a pen. I dropped the notebook, backing away, and that's when I noticed Hiroshi was gone. I called his name, but the forest swallowed my voice. The whispers were louder now, a cacophony of voices chanting my name, pulling me toward the tree. I don't know how long I stood there, staring at the threads. They seemed to pulse, like veins, and I swear I saw them move, tightening around the branches. My camera felt useless, but I raised it anyway, snapping a photo. When I looked at the screen, the image wasn't of the tree, it was me, standing in the clearing, my face blank, my eyes empty. Behind me was Hiroshi, smiling in a way that made my skin crawl. I ran, I don't know which direction, just away from the clearing. The threads, the voices, the forest seemed to fight me, roots tripping my feet, branches snagging my clothes. The whispers followed, relentless, calling my name, telling me to turn back, to stay. I don't know how I found the trail again, but I did, my lungs burning as I stumbled toward the parking lot. The sign was still there, pleading with me to think of my family. I didn't stop until I was in my car, doors locked, engine roaring as I sped away. I'm back in Tokyo now, writing this in my hotel room. I haven't slept since. Every time I close my eyes, I hear the whispers, see the red threads. I checked my camera, but the photo of the clearing is gone. The notebook is still in my bag though, and sometimes I swear I hear it rustling, like it's trying to open itself. I haven't looked inside since the forest. I'm afraid of what I'll find. I keep thinking about Hiroshi. He never cast a shadow, and I can't shake the feeling he wasn't real, not in the way I am. Or maybe I'm not real anymore. Not entirely. The forest took something from me, left something else in its place. I don't know what's worse. The idea that I am still lost in Aokigahara, following that red thread forever, or the thought that I made it out, but brought something back with me. I'm flying home tomorrow. I keep telling myself it'll be fine, that the whispers will fade, that the forest can't follow me across an ocean. But last night, I found a red thread tied around my hotel room doorknob, and just now, as I'm writing this, I heard it again. My name, whispered soft and low, from somewhere in the room.